Hey guys, this is market update. Volatility is increasing right now in crypto. The bull market is becoming mainstream. There's going to be a lot of human emotions here coming in, a lot of FOMO to the upside, big drawdowns, intraday or over a week or so. So what we have to focus on is where we are in the current cycle, taking all of what's happening out of it, because all of the kind of market narratives now are going to be extremely unhelpful for us. Everyone is putting all of their bull market price predictions and everything. And that's really unhelpful, noisy, and you can't trade it because it's just manic. So we have to take a step back, understand where we are and our strategy on how do we actually want to, benefit from this cycle. So let's look at that. We've hit an all-time high. We've rejected from it. It's not a correction. We're still way up on this month. You can see big corrections in the previous bull market, where a lot of people were FOMOing in and just getting wrecked. So we have to make sure we don't do that. Using leverage at this part in the cycle is extremely high ticket, right? Because we're going to get 7, 8, 10% rejections. You can see that here, even though we hit an all-time high. And that happened in the previous bull market as well. You can see these huge drawdowns, within a month, right? So within this month, it actually drew down, 30%. But if you go to the month chart, that was actually an up month. Right, so it's not constructive to be trying to trade short term here because what the market is trading on now is human emotion, and that is extremely unpredictable. So let's have a look at actually where we are in the cycle and make sure that we don't get wrecked, even though we're trading the cycle properly. If you do trade Bybit deposit bonus up to $30,000, you can check the details via the link in the description below. This bull market was kicked off early in the big scheme of things because of the ETFs. New money is coming in. And they're not done. The Bitcoin ETFs are incredible in terms of the inflows every single day into them. So there is obviously huge demand here. I'll show you data towards the end of this video as well that shows that Bitcoin and ETH are pretty much the most incredible assets in the world in terms of trading volumes and demand. And so I really don't see how we can't have another cycle that we have in all the previous ones. It's just important now that we manage our own emotions, because in a bull market, things get crazy. You have to go back to the data. Right here, we are above the other cycles in terms of the price and what we've done. And that's because of the ETFs. You can see the halving happens. It gets a little bit weird because unprofitable miners have to sell out their coins to buy new mining machines. And you get like this worry around the halving. And then it's actually only after that you get the real kind of, push upwards. So we may be going through that period over the next few weeks. The Bitcoin halving is literally next month. What we can see though is that it's usually around 300 to 500 days until we get the real peak. So we haven't seen anything yet, in my opinion, in terms of this bull market. It's just that things get extremely volatile. So if you're using leverage right now, anything like 2 to 3x leverage, you probably have a very high probability of getting wrecked. Unless you have leverage positions that were got into way before when the price was 20, 25, 30K, taking leverage now is extremely high ticket. Like the chance of getting wrecked on that is almost certain. However, we're miles away from the actual price top, which would be around a year or so from now, right? So spring 25, maybe it comes a bit earlier. This cycle, the previous cycle, the 2020 to 2024 cycle, it said it topped out in 550 days. However, I believe it actually topped out right here around 350 days. This second peak was extremely loose monetary policy around the pandemic, and Bitcoin and crypto really went mainstream at that point. And that was when a lot of people got in that second pump. However, this was really the top out for BTC around that time, which was 350 days. So about a year away, or maybe a little bit before or after, we don't know. So we still have the majority of this bull cycle to go. However, at this point, insane volatility and unpredictability. And so holding spot and just holding that comfortably, even when you're seeing the price draw down 20, 30%, is kind of the only way at this point. And you have to just trust the process that we're miles away from the actual peak and the top here. This is a bull market that's happening, and you can see what's happening here is that a bull market is essentially a rotation from people that were buying in previous bear markets, either the previous one or maybe 2 or 3 ago, and eventually want to take profits to buy other assets, right? Maybe a house or this or that, or pay off debt or whatever they want to do. A bull market is essentially a rotation of coins from old holders into new holders. You can see that data here. So the blue here is old holders, and they peak during bear markets because they're just buying consistently, buying and waiting for the next bull market that comes. And eventually new entrants who are skeptical before step in and say, I've capitulated, right? In terms of I wasn't buying it before and now I am. And so I'm going to have to capitulate and actually push the price up to get the Bitcoin that I want. And you can see that here. So each time the orange moves up, that is a bull market as new entrants come into the network. And it looks like we've started here again, right? So what we can see is that long-term holders, they have stopped accumulating at this point, and they're actually starting to flip at this point and actually go down, and then new entrants are coming in. So this is a bull market. The Bitcoin price is not very good in terms of, trading it short-term or long-term investing. Like, you're just having to pay up for the BTC. This is not when we make the best returns. The best returns are made, when we're actually buying at the bottom of bear market. So we're starting to mature, which is actually unfortunate as an investor. Yet what you've bought before is going up in price, but we're not being able to buy at good prices now. So the question is, when is this rotation going to stop? Well, it certainly isn't going to stop now, because most bull markets take around, as you can see here, this was a rotation of 30 months, this was a rotation of 16 months, and we're 2 months into it now. So plenty of time to go. But just start thinking about, what you want to be doing with your stack, because we're definitely in the bull market and we're in the rotation. The most important data when it comes to crypto is liquidity data, liquidity in markets. So if it's expanding, crypto is going to be in a big bull market. And if it's being drawn down, crypto is going to have a horrible bear market. You can see exactly that happen here. 2020, huge liquidity impulse. We know what happened. During the previous bear market, liquidity was being drawn down. It looks like we're actually finishing that drawdown and inflecting to the upside. Bitcoin is showing us that. You can see this here. This is gold up here as well. And the money supply, liquidity is growing again in terms of real rates and the money supply itself. In that sense, it's no coincidence that gold is rallying, and of course, crypto as well. You can see there's a very high correlation between the money supply and the price of gold, and Bitcoin has this correlation as well. We can see here that the money supply is actually growing, not just coming down from a bear market and inflecting up, but is actually growing again. So we seem to be in that cycle, the expansion cycle. And so as long as it's growing, Bitcoin is going to get a bid under it. Very volatile, but it's going to continue as long as the money supply is continuing to expand, and it looks like it is. April and May shake out a lot of speculators, because in April we have the halving, which isn't typically majorly bullish, as a lot of miners potentially sell Bitcoin and you get this kind of malaise through that period. Then in May, you have the ETH ETF deadline. Now, many analysts are saying that they're pretty bearish on the prospects of this getting accepted for right now. This may change, but there's a lot of politics in this, and a lot of politicians want to try and delay this. You know which side they're on, the kind of, Warren and Gensler side of things. They really don't want the ETH ETF to be accepted. What they're saying, and they've written this letter, is that the ETH futures ETFs are unreliable to trade, and therefore you can't put a spot ETF for ETH because the futures ETFs are unreliable. A lot of the analysts are saying they're bearish, not really because of any technical details, but because of the politics of the situation. And unfortunately, politics is unreliable, because at the end of the day, this is just human beings trying to wrangle for power. Now, these letters have been sent out. Coinbase's top lawyer gave us some amazing data. And so through the next few months, which will be volatile, as a long-term investor, hopefully the data I've shown you is that the second half of the bull market is really the best part if you can get through the volatility. And for Bitcoin and ETH, these are two of the most incredible assets on earth. Many digital asset commodities, not just Bitcoin, demonstrate market quality metrics that exceed even the largest traded equities. Now you can see that here. This is ETH and Bitcoin versus S&P 500 stocks. So what you can see here is that they trade daily volume that is up there with the largest stocks on the planet. Nvidia, Meta, Apple, their metrics are actually pretty much the best. This shows that these assets are large, worldwide, liquid, and therefore must be brought on into American capital markets. So that's number one. That just shows you where we are, right? So people think we're early with Bitcoin and ETH and crypto. These are the highest volume traded assets on earth. And that's because they're not securities. They're not companies. They are treated like currencies. You can also see here bid-ask spread. Bid-ask spread is the difference between buying and selling price on markets. The spread is the difference. The closer that is, the more highly traded and reliable that market is. A very wide bid-ask spread is not good. You can see here as well, ETH and BTC are pretty much the top assets when it comes to bid-ask spread, along with Apple, Google, Amazon. So these are large liquid assets that absolutely deserve to be brought on. And you can see here as well, this guy is saying that if the SEC deny this, right, they're going to go to court. A question for you: if the SEC were to deny, would you see court battles? And he says yes. So here's the problem with that, is that we know that it's Biden versus Trump. Trump's probably going to win. And that means that this current SEC, which is a Democrat SEC, knows that they're all going to get sacked. And what they might want to do is, if the Warren side of things and the Gensler side of things gets their way, is that they'll just deny it for some weird reason that isn't true. But that doesn't matter, because it means that they have to get sued. And that will take a long time. And by the time it gets sorted out, Gensler won't be there anyway. This is politics, unfortunately. But as you can see from the data, Bitcoin and ETH are two of the top assets worldwide. So, amazing to be invested in them. But there's going to be a lot of volatility and wrangling going on with this asset class. That's just the way it is.